from Guru Nanak Institute of Hotel Management, Kolkata. So today we have webinar of how to be a successful manager in the industry. So with the Guru Nanak IHM's latest initiative, learn from the IITians. As you all know that IITians have a great brain on their shoulder and they have achieved a lot of things in the past. And apart from master chefs in Guru Nanak Institute of Hotel Management, we will learn from the IITians as well. So we have mentors like Master Chef Kunal Kapoor, we have mentors like Master Chef Vikas Khanna, like K. Damodaran, Dr. K. Damodaran. Like this, we have mentors from the IITs. So presently, we have 3 IITians as a mentor of Guru Nanak Institute of Hotel Management. So presently, we'll discuss with Dr. Malay Dave. He's the alumni of IIT Kanpur and a PhD from UK University. So let me introduce Mr. Dr. Malay R. Dave. Is a graduate of IIT Kanpur, having a British doctorate in environmental engineering from the UK under the prestigious British Commonwealth Scholarship. He began his career with the corporate sector, wherein as the operations head of IDI Limited. He did several industrial projects across the world, right from North America to the Far East. So this is the brief. And sir, actually, I'd like to tell you regarding the today's webinar, our students are learning hospitality management and they are doing job in the industry after the successful completion of their course. Sir, some of the students are interested to be a manager. And in this regard, as you know, to be a manager, certain skills are required, certain expertise are required, certain intelligence are required. Apart from their regular knowledge, they need to learn about the sales and marketing. They need to learn about the financial management. They need to learn about the human resource management and the overall management system, like principles of management. All these things they need to learn to cope up with the industry solutions. So Dr. Dave, if you kindly share our students how to be a nice manager. So before that, Dr. Dave has sent me one PPT presentation. I'd like to open and share it to all the students. Students, I will start with the presentation of Dr. Malay Dave. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, of course. Yeah. But before we begin, let me give you some gist of how you can become a successful manager, because presentation is all right, And Dr. Ghosh, I would like to see presentation in the full screen.
Yes, I'm just opening it, sir.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, sir. A rough guide to creating successful managers. Students, can you see the screen?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
So Dr. Dave, over
Yes,
to
sir.
you. If you kindly explain us
Yeah,
regarding this.
Yeah, sure. Sure, I mean, you join organization, whether it is the hotel management industry or holiday
Overall,
making
sir,
industry.
overall industry.
Yeah. So what happens is, you have to be very cautious and careful about what exactly you want to end up in your career as. And people test you. I tell you, as you begin your journey, you'll come across many, many instances in your life that you will get the opportunities, number one. But then you have to actually identify that as an opportunity and seize the opportunity. Then if you let it go, yes, you'll continue getting opportunities, but a day would come when you won't get any of the opportunities. That is number one, that you should know that here is the opportunities and that how you can go about. The thing is that basically, I remember, when I initially joined the corporate sector in Mumbai, I mean, I was put on different areas of different domains. Like first, I was put in the time office. Second, I was put in production houses. Then I was put in a research and development section. Then I was put in dispatch section. I was even given, I mean, a brush with the security, how the factory security is being organized and how it is taken care of. I was also been given internship of about 15 days in a the department which you'll find it, you will laugh it off. It was safety department.
Okay,
So I
sir.
mean, first 3 months, I was given different kinds of training, and I was, of course, and I was because after doing my MTech and BTech, I was given a wonderful opportunity. But then, while I was on the shop floor, I was not allowed to go to the officers' canteen. I had to go to the workers' canteen. I had to stand in queue along with them. I had to eat what they were eating. So I mean, there's ground realities that we were facing. I had to undergo the training through those things. Afterwards, I remember, I mean, I was sent for training in Germany, in Dortmund, and being a vegetarian, it was pretty difficult for me to stay there for, say, I knew that I had to stay here for another 90 days. So how am I going to do this? So, I mean, where I was staying, down the road, there was a pizzeria, and it's an Italian lady was making wonderful pizzas. So I mean, I became the regular customer into that particular pizzeria, and after 7 days, the lady comes over to me and asks me that you like eating pizza here? I said yes. Do you know how we make our pizzas? I said no. I said, where are you from? I said, what are you doing? I said, I'm from industry, and I'm here for a training and kind of things. Then the lady said that, listen, um, I'll give you a free advice. I said, oh, what is this free advice is all about? Then she said that if you like something, you have to get into the details of it. You have to go into the depths of it. What it is all about, how it is being done. Then and then you can learn something. So I said, all right, so what do you want me to do? She said, tomorrow is Sunday. Why don't you join me? Why don't you be my intern? Why don't you assist me? If you like what I'm doing it, you should know how to make it. I said, that's wonderful. So can you believe me? On Sunday morning, I went there. I had my apron, and she gave me all the lessons, right from making of a good dough to what kind of toppings the pizza will have. And I can assure you that, the pizzas which I'm making, I mean, whatever I learned of, I mean, making a pizza, I mean, that was wonderful. But the lesson at the end of it, the lesson was, if you if you are interested in something, go to the finest details of it.
Mhm.
Go to the basic details of it. Otherwise, what will happen? If you leave it something halfway, then you won't be able to achieve the goals at the end of the day. You have to know everything that what you are going through. That is very important. If you give your
Sure.
100%. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah. So that was the lessons that I learned, from I mean, very small corner shop pizzeria.
Okay. So students, you can have a look, manager versus leader personality. Yeah.
Just a minute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
God.
I already forwarded this PPT to all of you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello?
Hello. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, you can we start from the first slide, please?
Okay, sure. This one, sir.
Can we start from the first slide, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, this first you need to know what is the difference between the managers and the leaders, you know.
Mhm.
I mean, basically in any organization, there are two kinds of situation which will always occur. The first situation is of chaos, and the other situation is the normal order. That is the normal situation, whatever it is.
Mhm.
But under the situation, how a manager reacts, and under the situation, how a leader or a successful manager reacts is totally different. There is a huge difference between the two. You know, managers experience is usually what they do, they follow the process, the set process, you know. They would seek stability in the organization. They would seek stability in the control and instinctively try to resolve the problems quickly, you know, so that there is no more mess. That is what it would be done.
Mhm.
But then they have to do it pretty fast, this thing, because otherwise the chaos will spread across. So they have to,
Sure.
they don't have time to react to the situation, but they are always in a hurry to control the situation, you
Mhm.
know. And they don't fully understand the problem significance, what the problem is all about. Now the
Mhm.
leaders, in contrast, you know, they tolerate the chaos and
Mhm.
the lack of structure and are willing to delay closure in order to understand the issues more fully.
Mhm.
So they take a feedback and they would go into the reasons why the chaos occurred, why the problem occurred, and then they would quietly come up with some creative ideas so that this kind of situation doesn't occur into the future. So
Mhm.
they are more like, you know, they are, I mean, leaders are more like the artists and scientists and other creative thinkers than what the managers are all about.
Mhm.
Managers simply just follow the guidelines, you know, and the leaders or the successful managers, they create the guidelines. There's a
Exactly.
basic difference. They,
Very.
how they react in the situation of chaos is totally different, you know. The leaders react very coolly, they react very rationally, where the managers are always in a hurry to control the situation. Can I have the second slide, please?
Yeah, sure.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Already.
Yes, the organizational priorities.
Yes, sir.
The second slide, please. The next slide.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. You know,
Yes.
organizations need both managers and leaders to succeed, but developing both requires a reduced focus on logic and strategic exercise in favor of an environment where creativity and imagination are permitted to flourish. The thing is, you know, all organizations, you know, they really want that their second line or third line of managers are 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 molded in such a way that they are bringing up the leaders of the future. So if you see the bottom line of junior managers, then the middle line and the third line, they are always under process of, you know, cultivating the leadership at all levels and all stages of the employment. So organizational priorities are always there, that, you know, that they always want to develop the second line, third line, you know, kind of lines, so that, you know, they are not devoid of the leadership at any stage or at any level or any hierarchy of the organizations. For example, the corporate sector, you know, they have a setup like this, that, you know, the top the hierarchy is like the board of governors, then it is followed by the board of directors, then it is followed by the president, the vice president, right? Then the general managers, the assistant managers, then the managers and the trainers or interns. That is how the basically the chart reads like in a corporate sector. But can you believe me? The top priority is given from bottoms up approach, that they are going to focus more and more on the bottoms up, in the sense that so and so that they become a successful manager. And then
So your voice is breaking.
hello,
Yeah.
can I have
Yeah,
the
now
third
it's
slide,
clear, sir.
please?
Now it's clear. Yeah, please go ahead. Countdown to leadership.
Hello, can I have the third slide, please?
Yes, sir. Countdown to leadership.
Yeah, you see, in, any leadership, requires power, because you can't have a powerless leader. But then there are three aspects of power where you have to be very careful. The first is the risk of equating power with the ability to get immediate results. Once you get a power, you feel like using it so that you get the immediate results and impress upon the management. There is a first risk. So that's why uh, they do not give power at the junior ranks. They don't really give, because there's a risk involved is that we are in a hurry to get immediate results by the use of the powers. That is how it is.
Yes, sir.
Second is the risk of ignoring the many different ways people can legitimately accumulate power. This always happens that if you give the power, then the risk of ignoring many different ways the people can legitimately accumulate power is there. The third is the risk of losing self-controlling desire for power. And this always happens that if you are given power, then you might lose the self-control and you might misuse the power, or you become victim of the power that has been assigned to you. So usually in a corporate setup, the power of any kind, the power to spend money or power to give sanctions or power to travel abroad, they are vested with the senior management. They do not give this thing because there are too many risks are involved. Because unless you mature yourself and you have to go up the ladder, until then, no power is invested in you. The power is always vested with the top management. Can I have the next slide, please?
Yes, sir. Manager versus leader personality.
Managers versus leadership personality. See, basically what happens in any corporate sector, a managerial culture emphasizes rationality and control. Whether his or her energies are directed towards goals, resources, organizational success of people, a manager is a problem solver. Basically, and the manager asks what problems have to be solved and what are the best ways to achieve results so that people will continue to contribute to these organizations. So basically, the task of a manager is just like more like a problem solver. All right, you have got the problem. Let us see how we can solve it and things like that. But from this perspective, the leadership is a practical effort to direct affairs and to fulfill his or his task. A manager requires that many people operate efficiently at different levels of status and responsibility, but it takes neither genius or heroism to be a manager, but rather persistence, tough-mindedness, hard work, intelligence, analytical ability, and perhaps most important, tolerance and goodwill. We have been taught, during the training that about the tolerance and goodwill. You are going to you have to be very, very tolerant if you are in a corporate setup. Whatever be your position, you have to be tolerant in the sense that you don't jump into a situation, you don't decide something under panic, or you do not actually foresee something which is your fears, which is not the reality. But then you have to you have to count 1 to 10 because before taking a decision. You have to be very careful that intolerance of any kind will lead to big chaos in your own life and the organizational setup. So you have to be you have to be very cool, take the back seat. If you are facing a problem, don't react the same time, think of the options, think of the other things, in what way you can reach your goals or how you can achieve the goals. But if you become intolerant and if you decide something very fairly quickly, either to impress your boss or to impress your colleagues, you have no idea, you can land up your company or your organization into a big mess up. and that usually happens. That usually happens. Can I have the next slide, please?
Yes, sir. Manager versus leadership personality, another conception of leadership.
Yeah. See, there's a misconception about the leadership. That is another conception of leadership is attaches almost mystical beliefs that what a leader is and assumes that only great people are worthy of the drama of power and politics. You know, when we are at a very lower level or the lower ladder of the corporate setup, you know, we always think that, oh yes, you know, this is how where we always look up to our bosses or our seniors as, my God, they are in the seventh heaven. They have acquired a position, and you get mystified because they've got so much powers and they're moving around with so many facilities. So you always get impressed by them. That how come, you know, you get really mystified because you have not reached that position and you have absolutely no idea that how they reached to that particular position. So you always get impressed, you always get mystified, and there's every reason to get mystified about the whole thing. But this is, let me tell you that leadership is basically a psychodrama in which a brilliant, lonely person must gain control of himself or herself as a precondition of controlling others. I mean, this is the bottom line that you have to have, you know, first you have to establish yourself into self control so that you can control the juniors or your subordinates or your colleagues, you know, who are supporting you in a better way. Exception of leadership contrasts sharply with a mundane, practical, and yet important conception. Leadership is really managing the work that the other people do. Can I have the next slide, please?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, Chandra Mamantra?
Yes, sir.
Manager versus leadership personality. Is it true that no matter how competent managers are, their leadership stagnates because of the limitation in visualizing purposes and generating value in work? Yeah, that's true, really. You know, sometimes what happens, we at a particular position would stagnate and our juniors will take over us because, you know, we either we do not think out of the box or we are very poor in decision making. We are not quick to react, or we do not think of, you know, what is going to what would be the market trends would be in a year from now or 2 years from now or down the line 5 years from now. So we, if we don't sensitize with these issues, then a stagnation occurs. That means we are just stuck up in the routine job, and we really do not think that, you know, of the future, that what are going to be the market trends, what is going to be the future of your organization, what is going to be the future of your own setup. So all these things need to be thought well in advance, and for which you have to prepare the plans. You have to prepare the plans in such a way that a year from now, my department would be like this. 2 years down the road, it would be like this. 3 years down the road, it has to be a different shape, depending upon the market trends and market requirements. So these things need to be very, you have to be very cautious, you know. Otherwise, what will happen? You will do a routine job, but you won't be able to do something very outstanding, which your management would be always looking for. You know, that they want that the people should come forward with the suggestions. Always the management wants that people would come forward with the proposals that would take the organization set up into the next future or the next level, I would say. So
Yes, sir.
these are the things, you know, these are the expectations from the management. So, but if you don't grow up, if you don't have your say and you just follow the tagline, okay, then of course it will be for you the 9 to 5 job, and your growth prospects would be restricted and limited. It will be more like assembly line thing, you know. Yes, you are there, so obviously after 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, you'll be promoted to the next level, and the next, and the next, right? And one day, one fine day, you retire. But that is not the way why you should be there. You should be there for doing something extraordinary. You have to see to it that you take some quick decision. You have to identify the market trends of the future. You have to see to it that yes, these are the advantages that you are going to get if you go on a path A rather than path B, right? and you should be always vocal. I mean, you should not take any, suppose even discussions are taking place, you are not supposed to take a back seat. You have to be in the front line. You know, most of us, don't speak up. There's the main issue. I mean, whatever level we are, that we will think, oh, what happens, what our colleagues would think about us. I mean, or what will our boss will think about us. And if we are basically, tied down by our own value system, we become judgmental, and we always take the risk. We don't open up. The problem here is we do not open up. Say something. What you are going to say is the interest of the organizations. Yes, you can be critical. Why not? You can be critical of a decision, but then that has to be an informed decision that you are taking. When you are getting critical about a proposal or a decision that was taken, say right from the top level, then you have to come up with a solution as well. You have to come up with the redressal itself. You just simply, it is easy to criticize something. Yeah, you can criticize, oh, well, this color is no good. You should have, instead of red, you should have taken white or yellow. But why? What the reason is all about? Whenever you are, when you are ready to criticize something, you should be ready to also accept the flag that you get. You should be also ready to offer the solutions, which are sustainable one. Just criticizing for the sake of criticizing is another thing, that anybody can do it, like, we often say, what always say that suppose an IPL match is playing, then somebody is out, then you said, "अरे, इसने क्यों ऐसा खेला? इसको उसको खेलना नहीं चाहिए था. You should have taken. Why did he play that ball?" I mean, you do not realize that what actual situation was there in that their moment in time was totally different, and people are going to react differently. So in the comfort, if you are in your comfort zone, if you react, that's a bad thing. I mean, you have to think of the situation, how people are taking shape, what situation is all about. But if you maintain silence, the silence is something, it is not going to pay you. Silence is also going to pay you. So in any organization, any corporate setup, let me let out a secret. People love, the juniors who speak about the flaws in the organization. People love the juniors who come up with the strategy. People love the juniors, who would say that, "Sir, instead of this, don't you think we should have gone this way, or this would have been much better?" I tell you what, people really love, because I've spent 20 years in corporate sector, and I can tell you, I've graduated from very small trainee intern to the vice president, So I realized that, at any corporate set, they are always very open to the suggestion coming in from any level. So what I would suggest that, be open in your career wherever you go, and be positive and be outstanding. Be come forward and open your mouth. Without, unless you open up yourself, you will not really will not be noticed actually. So you have to say something. I tell you, for example, we are having our meetings, at our top level. Say, let me take Jazz Group, for example, right?
Yes.
But I find that I noticed that only few people come out, with the suggestions. Only few would speak up that this is how it should have been, much better than this is. But I can assure you, a majority of them remain silent. Now, if a meeting is being held, and if the management wants, why meeting is being held? Because you can come up with the suggestions. You can come up with the constructive criticism. You can come up with the suggestions. You can come up with some informed decisions. But if a majority of is remaining silent, then what's the point in having such meetings?
Exactly.
So meeting has to be a brainstorming session. It has to be very creative, very noisy, what I would say,
Exactly.
so that, everybody is heard, everybody's decision is taken. So we take along everyone, and then we take a decision, and which is always good for the group. In our case, say JIS group, or even wherever you are working for your own organization. So what I would suggest, that be constructive, be creative, and don't hold back what you think that should be good for the organization, never hold it back, because why are we shy? I don't understand, why we should be shy. We are shy because Number one, we are not confident about ourselves.
Exactly.
We are shy because we think that our colleagues would ridicule us. You know,
Mhm.
we are shy because we think, oh, what my boss will think about it. I mean, what he feels bad about it? You know, what will happen? I lose my job. So, I mean, we are prisoner of our own conscience
Exactly.
because we are seeking, you know, lot of safety about our job. We are seeking lot of safety about, you know, our own profile, and we don't step out of the comfort zone. So what will happen?
Mhm.
Nothing will happen to us.
Exactly.
I mean, we'll continue doing the job, and one day
Mhm.
we'll retire.
Exactly.
That's it. Nothing will happen to us that, you know, all of a sudden somebody would say, okay, here is the good guy, you know, let us make him vice president. You know, he has done so many things for us. He has been vocal about what we have been doing. I mean, he has come up with the ideas, he has come up with some informed decisions, you know, and that is how you can go about. But if you shut up, you know, then any organization, you know, you will lead the normal life, and one day you will be given a farewell with a bouquet, and people will say many good things about you and say bye bye. But if
Exactly.
that is what you want, it's a different story. If you
Exactly.
put a lot of safety factor around you, I think that's no good, because you are very young. You know, you should take the chances in life.
Exactly.
To take bold decisions. What will happen?
Exactly.
One day you might lose your job. So what will make you lose your
Exactly.
job? You will learn by losing something. Every lesson is learned. Whether you lose the job, you go, or you gain the promotion, or whatever it is. These are the things, you know, that will make you much stronger and
Exactly.
more affirmative manager, rather than, you know, afraid of taking a decision, afraid of, you know, making a move. You know, that is good. That will
Yes.
just put you in a situation where, you know, you will just lead an ordinary career, and nothing more than that. You know, that is what will
Exactly.
happen.
So if you kindly discuss about this topic, relations with others.
Hello, can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Sir, relations with others. If you kindly discuss this chapter.
I think we have got a bad weather here. I think.
Yeah, relations with others.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. I can hear you.
Yeah, the attitude towards goals is the next slide that we have. You know, that managers tend to adopt impersonal, if not passive, attitudes towards goals.
Yes,
As
sir.
I when we discussed about this, lot many things
Mhm.
we discussed. The managerial goals arise out of the necessities rather than desires, and therefore are deeply embedded in their organizational history and culture.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
compared to this, the successful managers or the leaders thinks about the goal. They're
Mhm.
active instead of reactive, shaping
Mhm.
ideas instead of responding to them. Leaders
Mhm.
adopt a personal and active attitude towards goals. The
Mhm.
influence a leader exerts in alerting the moods, evoking images and expectation, and in establishing specific desires and objectives determines the direction a business takes. The
Mhm.
net result of this influence changes the way people think about what is desirable, possible, necessary. You know, so this is the big difference between the two. Your attitude towards your goals, you know, is going to get you, a lot of understanding, that is going to give you a mature look towards your goals, and how that can be achieved rationally, and how you can make your goals sustainable. And
Exactly.
that is what is the attitude make a lot of difference.
Exactly. Sir,
The
for
next
today,
slide.
sir, our time is running out. So, sir, we will finish it with the slide 10. So, in the next webinar, we'll finish the other discussions, sir. If you kindly advise us, because our time is running out. So, we have less than 1 minute left. So, we'll conduct one more webinar with you. And rest of the things we'll discuss with the students in the next webinar. Is it okay for you, sir? Hello? Hello? Hello, can you hear me, sir? Hello, can you hear me,
I
sir?
think we have got some weather problem. I guess I'm not too sure what is happening here.
Yes, sir.
I can't listen to you. Anyway, I mean, the next slide is about conception of work, that is managers
Yes, sir.
versus leaders.
Sir, actually, sir, our time is
Managers
running
tend to
out.
view work as an enabling process.